TNT. I mean, you've got so many different platforms that you're working on. So yes, Atiba has set this up to bring us together as a predominantly Caribbean community. And the topic for tonight's discussion is legacy building and the role of the travel industry in shaping the future. So I thought it'd be a nice change to start off this evening by asking Atiba to put forward his vision. You know, why has he chosen this topic, and where's it coming from? And then we can all start chipping in and maybe sharing what we feel after we've heard from him. So yes, let's go. Atiba, are you ready?
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, for some reason my camera was just fizzling for a second. But yeah, thank you all for coming on board. Welcome to everybody that's here so far. We're expecting a few more people. Hopefully we see them as the night goes on. But regardless, we're here and we're still moving forward and we're going to make it happen. So Caribbean Global Destinations, as some of you may or may not know, over the years, I've created a massive network of predominantly people from the Afro-Caribbean community, utilizing the WhatsApp forums, Facebook forums, and things of that nature. My niche market group that I've dealt with over the years is the Trinidad and Tobago network, and I've done a lot within that community. As 2020 came about, I realized that the main thing that the whole world was going to want to do is they're going to want to travel. So I said from there, I'm going to make a brand called Caribbean Global Destinations. Ever since then, I've been promoting Caribbean Global Destinations to the network. And now that we're now doing Diamond Roundtable, it's time to really start to bring together a team or core team together and see how we can really go and elevate and make ourselves prominent, predominantly within the travel industry. So that is a little bit about me, and that is how we're moving forward.
So thank you so much, Atiba, for setting this up and for sharing your ideas with us. Well, not even ideas, it's more than an idea, it's actually sharing what you're actually doing. An idea is something you're just thinking about, your action, what you're actually actioning at the moment. So yes, greetings to everyone. And yeah, legacy building and the role of the travel industry in shaping the future. Maybe somebody wants to start off by sharing what their idea of legacy building is. And then we can look at how we can use legacy, how we can create this legacy within the travel industry, and how it's going to actually affect the future, the well-being, the prosperity, the self-reliance of the Caribbean and Caribbean people. So I don't know if anyone wants to kick off. I don't want to start choosing people. Don't be shy. I'm going to start calling out people's names, and then maybe they'll be brave enough. We have Amibola, greetings. Chris, greetings. Elena, greetings. Sam, greetings. Michelle, greetings. And Cuthbert, greetings. So I've called everybody's name. So surely somebody wants to. Okay, you know what? Atiba and I were talking earlier. He had a really good idea. And maybe we'll start off light. And perhaps people might want to share some of their experiences of the Caribbean. What's their, we kind of spoke about that before, but maybe, where have you been? Where have you traveled to in the Caribbean? And why have you traveled there? Is it because you're from there? Holiday? Work? Come on, surely there can't be silence for this.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Hello, everyone. This is my first time being on this platform. It was my friend Michelle who actually told me about this, because I'm doing a dissertation at University of West London for on the Notting Hill Carnival, and it's a cultural tourism that I wanted to to do it on, and it was on Notting Hill Carnival. So she said, because I'm studying travel and tourism actually at UWL. So, you know, with tourism, it covers culture, food, dark tourism. So I chose cultural tourism. So that's why I'm here this evening. So very nice to meet you all.
Very nice to meet you. And your dissertation subject is a very, very interesting one. Why did you choose that topic?
Well, that's a very good question. Because I think Notting Hill Carnival has been a part of this our generation, you know, and there's so much history, culture, the dance, the music, the food, the costume. There's so much, I think, that I see myself, you know, perhaps interviewing people just to get their feedback on Notting Hill Carnival. I've only been there, to be honest. I've only been to Notting Hill Carnival, I think, twice in my lifetime. Usually I see it on TV, on the news, how, you know, whether it's how it goes. But I just thought, you know, it's something that came from the Caribbean, and it's now moved, you know, it's so celebrated here, and the world comes to celebrate with everyone for this. So it would just be interesting for me to dive in a bit more, to find out a bit more the history, like I said, because I love history. I love to know the history, how it began, why it began, and why it's still celebrated till, you know, tomorrow, really. So yeah,
it has a fascinating history, and it's very much connected with struggle and the struggle of the African Caribbean community in the UK to establish ourselves and to have our culture and our heritage recognized and respected. And it's about legacy, actually. The Notting Hill Carnival is an example of legacy building. Right. I mean, it's not really owned by anyone, though, which is interesting. It's a legacy of a community, and some people want to preserve it in its original form. Some people want it to evolve. You know, there's lots of different opinions on it. But yes, that is definitely legacy that's been built in this country. So it fits actually quite well with this. But coming back to my original question, Abimbola, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
What have you been to the Caribbean, or is there a favorite place in the Caribbean that you want to go or have been to?
I've never been to the Caribbean, but I would love to go to the Caribbean. And I think the one that pops in my head is either Grenada or Barbados, one of those two. Yeah.
So you want to go to a small island that's very beautiful and idyllic and surrounded by lots of blue seas, and it's very easy to access the beach. Wonderful. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to contribute? Greetings to those who might have just joined and missed the introduction. We're talking about legacy building and the role of the travel industry in shaping the future. And that future is for us, people of African Caribbean heritage, for us in... Oh, Michelle, greetings. Would you like to contribute? Yes.
Hi, yes. I think the question was, have you been to the Caribbean and why would you want to go?
Yeah, and if you have been, what maybe where's your favorite place and why? Maybe.
Oh yeah, let me just say one thing as well. Please feel free to show your beautiful faces as well. Like
I will at some point. I will at some point, Atiba. I will.
Yeah.
Favorite place. I don't think I can decide.
Okay.
I haven't visited that many Caribbean countries, but the ones that I have visited, they're all nice in their own unique way. So it would be kind of hard to put like a number of which the best one actually is. I mean, there are underlying things that Caribbeans all share, regardless of where we come from. But we each have our own quirkiness, and it's all lovable. And that's why forums like this, where we can share information, share thoughts, and things like that, is a good thing, because it's all good, and it's about cross-contamination, so to speak, and taking the best bits of everybody and the best bits of everywhere. So
and which islands have you been to?
I've been to Jamaica, and I've been to Barbados, and St. Lucia. Just those three. My parents are from Guyana, which technically speaking is not an island, but we share similar culture to the Caribbean nations, to the Caribbean islands.
I suppose Guyanese people were colonized along with the rest of us by the English, those of us in the English-speaking Caribbean. That's how they've incorrectly classed it as part of the Caribbean. You're right.
Yeah.
It's part of the mainland of South America, surely. So, I mean, sis, just before you shut off your mic, in terms of like shaping, tourism, shaping and travel, shaping the legacy of the future, do you feel that you've experienced any of that in your travels? Like, do you feel that the fact that you've been to the Caribbean, that there is almost that you are partly building a legacy for, like, perhaps for your, if you're going to have them, or if you have them, children, or the future? Have you thought about maybe one day moving there? Or
oh yes, without a doubt. I've always said that especially of late as I got older, I've always said that I don't want to stay in England. The only connection that I would have to the UK is obviously my children are born here, and I can't see them wanting to go back. So I'd kind of have to have my feet in two places all the time. But I do want to go back and maybe do the 6 months here, 6 months there sort of thing. Yeah, definitely.
Good plan. That's a very good plan. So we have Brother Cuthbert. You have your mic off. Did you want to contribute?
Is my mic off?
Oh, was that accidental?
Is it off or on?
It's off because I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, you're hearing me. Listen, I'm challenged with nobody actually mentioning the island that I'm from. It means that people have not necessarily actually visit. They talk about wonders of the world. Trust me, if you have not visited St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you have not understand what is a wonder of the world. St. Vincent is where I'm from. I actually was born in St. Vincent and moved to Trinidad. But let me actually tell you a little bit about St. Vincent, guys. All right. Those of you who are there and want to understand the beauty of this place. There's a beach in St. Vincent that there's no other beach in the world is like that. You could be walking on black sand.
Oh, wow.
You're walking on black sand. I don't know if any of you have experienced black sand anyway. And then all of a sudden, without you actually realizing it, all of a sudden you're walking on white sand.
Wow.
Because St. Vincent is actually volcanic, it means that some of the beaches, whatsoever is happening under the earth anyway, creates that environment that gives that changes the earth's surface without without you knowing what's happening anyway. So let me invite. I'll probably talk a bit more about that later on anyway in this conversation. But let me invite you to do a research on St. Vincent and the Grenadines, guys, and understand that if you have not visited or have in mind to visit St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you're missing out on the wonder of the world.
Wow. Well, you've certainly sold St. Vincent there. What about the topic?
I haven't done it, honestly. I haven't done anything yet. I mean, the point is I I'm just trying to engage in the conversation and more or less to stimulate some sort of a discussion, because I'm challenging the people on the platform. If anybody, wheresoever you're from, be it Trinidad or I know you're from Trinidad, Isis, be it Trinidad, or I challenge anybody on this platform to create an environment that St. Vincent actually can create.
Well,
in
you know
terms
what?
of from a touristic perspective.
I don't know how many other Trinidadians or Trinis, Trinibagan, but actually we have to separate the two islands now. In this case, Trinidadians and Tobagonians are on this call, but Trinidad is not really what you'd call your typical, the stereotypical paradise island. This little island with the beaches in easy reach, and I mean, depends where you are. There are parts in Trinidad where it's much more difficult to get to the beach, and it's a different kind of island to what you're describing, like St. Vincent. I know Barbados, Grenada, Tobago. The smaller islands have something more. There's something more magical about the beaches being in close proximity. I've been to the Bahamas. I went to Harbor Island, and they have pink sand beach. I've been on a pink sand beach, which is weird. But these tiny islands where you can just walk a few, feet and you're on a beach. There's something. Not that St. Vincent is that small, obviously, but there's something very, very different about it. So I can't argue. But is there anyone else who wants to throw down or pick up the gauntlet about the most beautiful attributes that the islands can offer that Cuthbert's mentioned? These fantastic lava. Is it volcanic lava sand that causes it to be black and white at the same time or to merge? Okay. Is there anyone else who wants to share? Favorite island? What you love about the Caribbean islands? I'm gonna have to start choosing names now. Lydia, are you there? Hello? Greetings. Who's actually here? Can somebody put their hand up if they're there, so I can get a response? Hello?
Well, obviously I'm here.
Okay, no, I know you are, but I know you started it off. Okay, Elena, I can see you've taken your mic off. You're there. Greetings.
I'm here. Yes, I would just like to say I'm half St. Vincentian and half Grenadian. I've been to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Unfortunately, I wasn't lucky to go to Bequia or the Union Islands. I missed out on those trips. But I've also St. Lucia. I lived in St. Lucia. I stayed there for 3 months. And every time I've gone back home, I've actually gone for like either 2 months or a month or 3 months. But I feel that what the islands have to offer is something great for us in general as people, descendants of family members from the islands. I feel like the farming aspect, the nature aspect, the fact that you can grow in your own land and, live off the land. It's like, I can't explain it. To me, it's something you can't explain. And like, for me, St. Vincent is a land that it's like, it touched me in a way where as soon as I went there, I felt like I was home. I remember taking my shoes off and actually walking down the street barefoot. And it was like I was feeling the vibration. It was like the ancestors was like coming back to me naturally. And I was just picking up on like the feeling of the culture that my granny and granddad used to try and give us here in England. But it was just, it was amazing. So like my end goal as well, like others, like what Michelle said, she would love to like spend like 6 months here, 6 months there as we've got children. But at some point, I would love to actually live there for like 3 years and put my child in school back home. Because even seeing the way my cousins are and how they love education. They're proud to walk in their uniform. When you see them kids, yeah, their school uniform, you're like, hold on, we need to step up our game in England. You know, the way they are dressed, like proper iron, the shoes and the ankle white socks. You know, you think, how did they get it so pristine white to go to school? But I feel like for me, I would want my child, my youngest, to experience going to school and having an education, being with his people, being with our people, you know, and being in his class where they're proud to be Black, you know, and Grenadian or St. Vincent or Bayesian or Trinidadian, you know, going through that process. Because even the one thing about the West Indies, I got to visit the University of the West Indies in Grenada, and they're basically good when it comes to teaching medicine and veterinary. They do with like veterinary. That university there is amazing, and people in UK don't really get promoted. They don't really get, like, you know, it's not really like, what's the word when you're kind of looking to go to another country to study, where they are aware that they can go to that university.
Yeah. So it's basically,
you
as a
know,
university, it's not promoted to people. People aren't aware of it.
In UK, whereas when you go to people in Canada and America, they get promoted to say they have an opportunity to go to Grenada and study at the universities in Grenada or the West Indies, the University of the West Indies. So it depends on what you're studying, because I know other islands have like universities that have, you know, study different things on other islands. So it could be science on another island.
Yeah.
Like they specialize in different things in different islands. So I feel like as well for our children, if you're in a position to go back home and put your child for a period of time in school there and live and work there, I think that would be great. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say for now.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Give thanks, yes. Is there anyone else who'd like to chip in? We've got Chris, Lydia, Karina, and San, who have not said anything yet. Oh, and iPhone, who I don't know who iPhone is, obviously. What's your experiences of the Caribbean? What's your favorite Caribbean island? What about legacy building? And what about travel? We wanted to talk about the travel industry. How can travel and tourism build legacy for us in the Caribbean? That's what we're really trying to get to.
Sorry, am I still connected? Yeah.
Yes, Chris, take your mic's gone back on. It was off for a minute.
No, oh, sorry.
So with I've been to Trinidad, Tobago, and Jamaica, and that's because obviously my family's from there. So my experience of the Caribbean has been good. It's been nice. All the times that I've been over there, and yeah, in terms of what you're saying about legacy. Oh, hold on 1 second. My daughter's just coming through in 1 second. I'm gonna come back. I need to sort out my daughter, okay?
Sure. Okay, Chris is coming back with somebody who's not spoken. Lydia, San, Karina. Would any one of you three like to chip in while Chris is dealing with his daughter? Lydia, Karina, San, are you there? Oh, we've got Carl. You've just come in. So
Carly.
Carly,
Yeah,
sorry. You've just come in, so maybe I should give you a break and try and pick on the others, continue picking on the others first. San, are you there? San Hackney? Hello? Okay, it's come off the phone.
Hi guys, sorry, I'm just in the middle of doing a business transaction, so I'll have to jump back on a little while.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
Okay, so it's now
this is
numbers.
I said this is one reason why I literally chose Wednesday, you know, between this time, because this is like the most time you're gonna get, even like, you know what I'm saying, because every other time you're gonna get more people being very busy.
Okay, how about Karina? Are you there, Karina? No, okay. iPhone. Whoever iPhone is, do you know if you're called iPhone? Okay.
I
Sorry,
think Cuthbert Jack wants to say something.
Yes, Cuthbert, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, are you hearing me? Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Excellent. I wanted to suggest, like I said, there are lots of things I could talk about the Caribbean because I lived in Trinidad and also I lived well, I was born in St. Vincent. I lived there obviously. But one of the things I'd like to suggest to the platform, to Atiba, is that he actually creates an avenue where he could develop some sort of a touristic drive where you can take people from England, young people, well, not young people, people on the platform, I presume, who want to go back on a visit and they actually tour the different countries, right? Establish, one trip, they go to Trinidad, another trip, they go to there's totally different countries, right? Because there's so much things that you can actually engage with. It's like just now the young lady mentioned St. Vincent and mentioned agriculture. I remember when I came to England, it took me about, honestly, about nearly 20, 30 years before I actually could drink the coconut water here, right? Why? Because I have to buy it. And for me, it's actually, these are things back in the Caribbean. We used to just reach up in the tree and just ring it off and just bust it on the tree and drink as much as you want. You stay there and drink as much coconut as you want. Breadfruit, for instance, it's expensive here. We used to use that to play cricket when we were younger, growing up back in the Caribbean. Great. You name a fruit, we had it on the lands that we had. Sugar apple, zaboka. You name the fruit, we had it on the lands. So it's a lot of things that people can actually experience when they if Atiba and global destination could start to establish some trips that they could take people back to the home country, to the Caribbean anyway. Yeah.
That's I really resonate with your story, there, because when I was thinking about when I came here, and me, but also particularly my mother and my grandmother, they were horrified when they saw that you had to, buy things like mangoes. I mean, we had mango trees in the garden and an avocado tree, and I'm just used to just picking mangoes, like you said, on the streets, and just trees, just eating it. So it's a very different way of life. You're absolutely right. In terms of the legacy, one of the things we could be doing is thinking about how we do take maybe predominantly our young people, actually, because I'm sure a lot of older people may have already traveled, but to see the Caribbean, to make sure that they do it. And maybe you're right, maybe it's one island, or maybe they even visit a couple of islands. It's some kind of tour and it's a cultural thing. I don't know, but I mean, what do people think in terms of actually, Sister Carly, you Jade Mohammed,
Sorry,
you've got your...
Could I just interject quickly? Sorry, just
Sure.
quickly. I remember the first night I came on, which I think is last week, when the guy was actually speaking, one of the things I would have loved to say, I came to England through a youth exchange program. Initially, through a youth exchange program, I'm now in England. So the same sort of thing can be established, like you said, for the people on the platform who have children. They can send them on youth exchange trips, which is something that Atiba can organize to go back to the Caribbean, so they can grow up and understand and establish some sort of a relationship with things that that could help them in the future to understand the culture, understand the different things about the Caribbean islands anyway. Okay.
Most definitely. Sorry, Sister Carly, Jade Mohammed.
Hi.
Greetings, sister.
Greetings. Yes.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, would you
Okay.
like to? Oh, yeah, I forgot you came on. Sorry, sis, you came on a little bit late. Yes, so okay, so what we've been talking about, sis, is about we've been talking about people's experiences, like favorite islands, basically in the Caribbean, because different people have been to different places. Like brother Cuthbert, who was just talking, was talking about St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the beach with the black sand that merges into the white sand. It's gone volcanic, and the beautiful things that the Caribbean have to offer, but also like legacy. Like, what does that mean for us in the Caribbean and people of the Caribbean? How can we use this? Can we use travel and tourism to shape that legacy for us in the Caribbean?
I think so. I think the way travel and tourism is seen now, I really do believe that we can redefine that. I do believe that. I feel like it's our time to redefine that. And we can just make it however the way we want to make it, so that it suits us rather than other people, like it has been doing for years. So I definitely believe that. My mother is from Dominica and my father is Jamaican. I've only been to Dominica. I haven't been to Jamaica. I would like to go, but I would like to go to all of the islands.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I'd like to go to all of the islands, and I would hope that at some point there would be, a united Caribbean. And I believe that is 100% possible. We're just in the process of doing that. It's happening, but that's the ideal scene. So yeah, that's what I think.
Give thanks, sis, for that contribution. I actually want to throw out a couple of things. I think it's worth mentioning. I mean, because we're speaking about all the Caribbean islands. There's a lot, and I agree with you, sister. I would love. That's one of my dreams. I want to see all of the 54, is it, African countries, and and I can't count all the Caribbean islands. There's so many but there's a couple of things. Well, one, we are divided by the colonizers' languages in the Caribbean. So some of our sisters and brothers like speak English, those of us like St. Vincent and Jamaica and Barbados and Grenada and Trinidad and Tobago. But then some of our sisters and brothers speaking French in not Dominica, Martinique, Guadeloupe, Haiti. Then some are speaking Spanish. And there's even some speaking Dutch in the ABC Islands. So we do have a bit of a challenge. We've got CARICOM, but we do have a bit of a challenge. So when we're talking about shaping our future, and part of that is about legacy and building legacy, I think there's another thing as well about how important it is, for example, for somebody like me as a Trinidadian to go to a French-speaking island or go to a Dutch-speaking island, and maybe some in terms of like visiting. Now, the other challenge, and I think one of the challenges we have in how, and I think it's important, and I wonder what's behind this, is it's very difficult to just fly from island to island. There's no inter-island service for us. Now, that's something that is always, I was in Trinidad, I had a brother in Cuba, we're trying to connect, how is he going to get to Trinidad? He can't fly straight to Trinidad, he would have had to go via Mexico and all of that. There was another time I was there, and I had my other good brethren was in Grenada, and I was in Trinidad, and we couldn't find like a simple direct flight or even a boat trip. So I think in terms of, I've just thrown that out there. What are maybe some of the solutions that we could come up with to connect us better? Because if we want to build legacy, we've got to be connected. We've got to be able to see each other and experience each other's cultures inter-island.
We have to put our money where our mouth is.
Right. Tell us a bit more, sis. Come on. Tell us a bit more.
You were just talking about how difficult it was for you to get from Trinidad to Cuba. I didn't even realize that was a thing, because from my knowledge from Guyana, quite a lot of my relatives that live there, they do fly to other like islands, and St. Kitts is a popular one. They fly to Barbados, Trinidad, Antigua as well. I've got relatives from Guyana that are working in Antigua, and they can just seem to pick up a flight and just hop and go quite easily. And even when I was at one of the local airports in Guyana, I could see that they had flights, quite regular flights, going to all the different islands. So the fact that you're mentioning that, how difficult it is, I'm quite surprised. But I mean, it's a problem. And one way of rectifying it is to create our own airline. But things like that is going to cost money. So that's why I said, put our money where our mouth is.
Thank you. Sister Carly, you had your hand up.
Hello?
Hello? Oh, sorry,
I
Sister
think he's on the
Carly.
phone. Yeah, I was, I'll start with what I said and then I'll go into what Sister just mentioned. But I was on another platform. I work on another platform. And one of the things that we were discussing was aviation. And one of the questions that was put forward to the guest speakers, we had like pilots on there, was whether we could charter our own flights and how it could be done,
Right.
how it could be done. And just like the sisters were saying, one of the things that came out of that was that, once we have the money to do it, we can do anything. It's not hard to do. I think where the issue is that how we've been conditioned in the Caribbean to be divided. Because we can have the money, but once you get that money, you got to have a kind of mindset of what it is you're trying to do and the system that you're trying to break in within yourself.
Well, maybe, do you think it's more about the fact that inter-island, we don't know enough, some of the islands don't know enough about each other, and we need to find a way to create an interest? Because if people in Martinique want to find out what's happening in Jamaica, I mean, everybody knows where Jamaica is, for example, wherever you go in the world, that's one thing I realized, everybody knows Jamaica, and how do you create that interest? If we're interested in seeing each other's islands and traveling, then we can create something, like you said, charter planes.
I think it's gonna take those with that right mindset, however small it is, and then it's just gonna have to grow from there. Do you see what I mean? But once you're going in with the right mindset and understanding that we're going to come across these issues, we will come across them. But at the same time, we will have that mindset to obviously just break it down as we're trying to build it and bring that education along with you as you're doing it. It's like for me, the way I'm seeing it, it's just going to be like many things happening at the same time, if that makes sense.
Holistic, as they call it.
Yeah, because people are going to have to be re-educated into a new way of doing something. We're not just going to do it. We're going to have to re-educate people at the same time, so I think that's one of the things that need to be, addressed in order to achieve that.
And do you think, I'm throwing this out to everyone as well after you've answered, Sister Carly, that if we had a situation where we did have a chartered flight and we had people, we were advertising trips to travel to maybe 3 different islands, and they were different islands, maybe French speaking, Dutch speaking, different mixes. Do you think there would be an appetite amongst our community to pick that up?
I think so, with people who are a bit more aware. I think with some people, you may have to get them to see the especially those who actually live there. You're going to have to get them to see the possibility that we can do it. Because a lot of Caribbeans, as it is, many islands, we're importing things from outside. So everything is done from a kind of dependency kind of mindset. You see what I'm saying? And then when you start talking to people about independence, it's like, well, we don't need to do that. We've got this and we've got that. And if you don't understand the purpose of it, it's going to be hard.
We need to find a new and innovative way of
Right.
changing that narrative to get people to understand
Yes.
what they're
yeah,
going to benefit and what can be gained from this kind of
Right.
inter-island, traveling around.
Yeah.
Mm.
But if you get like the sister said, if you get if you just get 8 people who are ready and willing to put their money where their mouth is, because the best form of the best way to demonstrate it is to actually do it.
By example.
Because seeing is believing. So it's
Yeah.
just going to be hard work for those 8 people. But once you've done it and they see the possibilities of it, it is possible, and then people are going to start saying more things and asking more questions. How can we do this? How can we do that? And it will just catch on. That's what I think.
Love it. Beautiful contribution. Thank you. Does anybody else like to chip in? Chris, my brother, are you sorted now? You're on the mute.
Yeah, so my thing is that when it comes to, obviously I say my countries is Jamaica and Trinidad. And my thing is that what other people have said in terms of getting back to the Caribbean, it's a very, very, it can be very, very challenging, especially in the climate that we're in. It can be very, very challenging, and it's not easy for us to go back to visit. Even if we're going to stay with family and we're just getting flights, it's not easy. It's like, I don't know if the notion is still always there that people from the Caribbean, they look at us. We of Caribbean descent. We're in the UK, and they think that we're living in a land of milk and honey, where everything is great over here. When it's like we have our own, problems. We have our own situations here as well. You know what I'm saying?
So I have to ask, do you think that Caribbean people still believe that even now? I mean, I know maybe back in the day, but do you think that's
even the
still
other day, my cousin was asking me to help him out with money for his car. So yes, they still believe. They still
think we're rich because we're here.
Yeah, they still believe that. They still believe that. But I think this is where it's just in regards to educating both sides. Obviously, they need to understand that we have our own situations here. They have their own situations there. But it would be nice to have our own. I would say. I know at the moment we have like travel agents. So we have our own travel agents. If we can get something like that going, then one, we're supporting Black businesses over here. 2, if we can get travel agents that are able to assist or provide some kind of way in which people over here can fly over to the Caribbean and vice versa, again, I think it will just build that bridge and build that link. Obviously, with tourism, the Caribbean relies heavily on tourism. But I do think that there's ways in which we over here, or shall we say in first world countries, we can actually help to actually boost the tourism in the Caribbean. There is ways in which we can do it, whether it be by physically being over there to actually help pass on the knowledge that we have here and the ways that we have here that could help improve it all just by being over here, but just having that connection over there. That's something which we can actually do. But have you heard
of like sustainable tourism and ecotourism and all of these types of things? So
yeah, I've heard about it, but you know what it is, and it's not just with tourism. I think it's with a lot of things. I think when we have forums like this, or when we come together like this, we can come up with great ideas. We can come up with great things that we can do, but it just seems like we're trying to do everything at the same time. Whereas sometimes what it takes us doing little by little, brick by brick. If we build it brick by brick, then eventually you will start to see more of an impact. And I think that's just where, if you're talking about, in this case, tourism and travel, that's where we need to be. We need to start off bit by bit. We obviously have our end goal. The end goal, the end goal will be, we have our own Black pilots. We have our own Caribbean pilots. We have our own chartered flights. We can do that ourselves.
So
that would be the end goal.
we do have quite a number of pilots, you know. I mean, there's a
We have
sister
the
that lives
pilots.
a lot far from me, but you're right. How do we own the whole thing? But how do we
Exactly,
start
own
then?
everything.
So what's the first step to get to start moving towards this?
Boy, if I knew the answer to that, I'd be rich. but nah, on the real, the first step would be the first step is what we're doing here. This is what we're doing. What we're doing here is
So what's
the first step. Having a discussion. Once you've had the discussion, then it's about drawing out a plan. It's about making sure that we're all together. We're in this and we all have the same common goal. That's the thing. Because once we have the same common goal, because we might not all think the same. We might all have different ideas. There may be many paths to get to the same destination. But as long as we all maintain that we have the same common goal, and that is to get to the end where we have our utopia of everything that we want. As long as we have that in mind and we all respect each other and know that we're all trying to get to the same way, we can educate each other, we can help each other along the way. It's just about coming together. Obviously, you need brains, you need a thought process, you need finances. Let's be real, you need finances, because if you're going to get anywhere in life, you need the finances. So it's about getting together. It's about having a proper plan. Because one thing that I've seen happen is that you sometimes get people that will just have some slapdash plan and it's not well thought out of. And then people will start getting offended if someone comes up with a plan, but then other people can point out a way and say, oh, there might be a little hole in that plan. But let's think, rather than just criticizing that plan and say, oh, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work because of this, that's not going to work.
Let's be strategic.
Just come together and encourage. Do you know what I'm saying? Come together and encourage each other to be like, yeah, that might have a hole in it, but let's fill in that hole. Let's fill in that plug so that it can actually work. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's just my 2 pence. That's just my thoughts on the whole thing.
No, give thanks, brother. That's very, very good. And it's actually true. You know, if we need to just start off something like Sister Carly was saying. We need to think about making sure that it's they call it SMART. I don't know if anybody's heard about that specific, was it specific, SMART, a measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound or targeted. So we greetings, little one. So yeah, what do we think? Anyone else like to chip in?
I'd like to.
Greetings,
sorry.
Yeah. Yes. Greetings,
could I contribute?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah. I'd like to challenge Chris with something he said initially in terms of the in terms of the Caribbean, where the habits have not changed, where people still actually become independent on you for financial, for financial reasons. You know, he mentioned his brother actually asking him for money. Chris, that's a normal thing. That doesn't happen in the Caribbean alone. It happens in England. I'm sure in England people ask for money just the same. What I'm actually getting to here is that you cannot look all the time at this and believe it's a negative. It's not a negative that people who don't have would look to you. And it's really what happened. If you think about it, when people go back to the Caribbean for a holiday, how do they go? They give the impression that they have everything. The point is that a lot of time people actually end up spending money that they don't have. They even actually use their credit card to buy clothes. So when they go back to the Caribbean, they can wear it and give the impression that they have. You know, I actually look at a friend of mine was actually just came back from St. Vincent on holiday, and she was taking pictures of different places in St. Vincent. And my gosh, I've never seen more big houses. And you know, people who leave England and go back down, them build massive houses. I'm sure that they probably can maintain them, I suppose, but that's giving the impression Chris, that we have everything. So really, it's not the fault so much of the people from the islands. It's the fault of sometimes the people who are going back and give the impression that we have everything, that we are from England, so we have everything, right? You have to actually be able to operate in a way that you're there on holiday. So when I go back to the Caribbean, for instance, obviously I'll take money with me and whatsoever, but I don't go around spending money like I'm silly. I have enough experience to know that when I go back there, all I'm doing is going to the gardens, going to the from an agricultural perspective, and get the fruits and get the not going to buy expensive dinners and going to different places. You do that there if you have to celebrate, but basically you try to maintain a low profile so that you're not looking as though you're loaded.
Yeah.
People might end up robbing you instead. But so when I say I'm challenging you, Chris, it's not a negative. It's actually just saying maybe it's a one-off with your brother. Obviously, he's your brother. Who you want him to ask for? Who you want him to ask for money? He must ask you.
No, I'm not. So I don't agree. I don't see you challenging me as a negative. I see it as a positive because I always believe that if we always challenge each other, that's how we can actually grow. Do you see what I'm saying? That's how we can actually grow.
Yeah.
That's how we can actually learn as a people, because you can anybody that challenges me on my thoughts, then that's fine. I will always hear it and I will always listen out to it because at the end of the day, everyone can speak from their own experiences. I just know from my experience, my cousin asked me for that. I understand people in the UK, they will still do it the same way. They will always ask the same way, but it's just, as I said, from my experience, and I can only speak from my experience. From my experience, I've had so many family members that have come to me and asked me, and especially when I went to Jamaica and I took my 2 daughters with me to Jamaica, and then I had them asking me, asking for money, and I was like, when people over here ask me for money, it's kind of different because obviously they're here, so they know the ecosystem, they know the environment. So if they're gonna ask for money, it's kind of different. Whereas when it's over there, and I agree with what you're saying, in that we over here kind of have a responsibility for how we actually move when we go over there. Because if you're gonna go over there and give the impression that you've got money, then obviously you're gonna expect people to ask you for money. Do you know what I'm saying? But it's just, I think from my experience, and I can only speak from my experience, it's just almost, I can't think of a way to put it, but it's just almost like they'll just ask regardless. Just because they see me come over there and fly over there, they'll ask regardless. Now, for me personally, I'm not into designer stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't buy designer stuff. I just buy something. If I like it, I like it. It could be from Primark for all I care. I don't really care. If it suits me, it suits me. But regardless of that, I wasn't going out there being flashy. I don't wear jewelry. I don't wear any jewelry at all. I don't wear watches. I don't wear nothing like that at all. I'm very plain. But yet, they will still ask. Now, I'm not looking a certain way. I'm not acting a certain way. But I was inundated with messages on social media, WhatsApp. I was inundated with messages. So I can only speak from my experience and from the experience of other people that I've spoken to that move the same way that I move. Now, I agree with you in terms of how certain people will go over there and they'll be wearing pure designer this, designer that, and they'll give that impression that they've got money. And I get that. And then obviously you're going to naturally get that. You're going to naturally get that. So I get it.
I hear, and I think you both have valid points and obviously experiences. And I'm just wondering though, how could, we're talking about building legacy. How can we sort of stop that sort of thing? Obviously people going through difficulty are going to ask for help, but is it that maybe, because I was thinking as well,
you'll never stop it.
Yes, but some of it is beyond our control, because obviously immigration policy it's much more difficult for somebody with a Caribbean passport to fly to London because you need a visa to fly to England, whereas people with British passports can fly to the Caribbean easily without a visa. So obviously that's one issue. And then the cost of a flight for somebody who earns what you might earn, because the Caribbean currency isn't valued the same as the British or the American or the euro. So they're earning a lot less. So it's much, so we have more earning potential because we're, you know, and so the cost of a ticket, when they see somebody buying a ticket even to fly home, it's like, oh, right, somebody spent the X amount of money when you calculate that into currency. So already it looks like, even before somebody's got off the aeroplane, if they're wearing designer clothes, I like you, I wouldn't, you know, and wouldn't go home. I mean, I don't wear designer clothes, but yeah, it, you know, all of these things. So obviously there's a whole image and there's a history. There's a social issue, there's a geopolitical issue, but how can we, you know, is there something we can do though? In you know, we're talking about, like, if we were to try and do some sort of tourism thing, can that be a part of it? I mean, Sister Carly was talking about education. What is the role of us somehow educating our community here, Caribbean people here, and the Caribbean people in the Caribbean, to understand the reality is not what it might appear?
Yeah, 100. Sister, you took the words right out of my mouth. I just feel that education is the most important thing. They're not doing it because, you know, they're doing it because they don't have, but they don't understand the wealth of what they have, of where they are. They don't understand that. You see what I'm saying? Here, we understand the wealth in the Caribbean completely. You know, that's why everyone wants to go there. But over there, you know, something has taken place where it has robbed them of that understanding, where they have to be dependent. You see what I'm saying? So we have to educate them on that history, on what has caused them to be that way. That has to take place globally, I believe, not just the Caribbean, not just UK. I think it needs to take place everywhere, and it needs to be consistent. It needs to be all the time, because I think over time it will change. I feel it is changing. It's like a because what we're seeing now is a manifestation of something that started how many years ago, and we're seeing it now. You see what I'm saying? So I just believe strongly that education is the way. And then once they see it happening, and once they can contribute to that growth and development, then they see it even more, and it just builds that morality that they can be self-sufficient, you know, because that's what they need to understand, that you have wealth where you are, right under your foot. You don't need to ask nobody for nothing, you know. So that's what I think.
Great.
Sorry, building education. She mentioned, and actually, let's actually sorry, let's target the legacy business. Building education. I actually think one of the things, maybe not now in terms of Atiba, but maybe not immediately, because you have to have some sort of foundation. But when you build up a foundation, I think that we should start to invite Caribbean people. I'm not talking about Caribbean people living in England. I'm talking about Caribbean people living in the Caribbean to join, because this is actually this is a Zoom program, right? To join this program, so they're actually contributing, to the discussion and hearing the suggestions that we're making. Because one of the things is, in terms of going back to the Caribbean, what came to my mind when Chris was talking, if somebody asks, for instance, if you're always getting people to ask for money, and you have some money, if you have some money, that is, you can create an opportunity where people can actually, you can create some sort of employment system back there, where you start some sort of business. I don't know what it is, but you have to become creative and start something that you can actually employ the people who are asking you for money, so they can actually work for what you are actually going to give them. So instead of like you give them free money, you get them to work to get what you're giving them. And those are, you know, could you imagine if we had somebody from the Caribbean, be it Trinidad, be it Jamaica, wherever they're from anyway, on the line tonight and hearing something like what I'm saying now, it might spark a thought in their mind about doing something with their life, to start something. Whether it sometimes it's simple, a simple business like, I don't know, like, I don't know. I'm thinking about something creative, but something creative anyway, and that can be supported by people from the platform who are a relative or family, or even the platform itself. But they end up later on raising funds through sponsorship that can help people to establish, you know, maybe agricultural programs. They can actually, you know, maybe buy a piece of land or something, or maybe get a piece of land donated to the platform, to Caribbean Global Destination. Get a piece of land, and on it they plant fruits or crops or whatsoever, you know, that can have people from the Caribbean actually. So it's about, and somebody said earlier about starting small so you grow, you mushroom and grow big. So you could start from just small, you know, do something small, and then expand to something bigger. Okay.
Most definitely, that's most definitely the way to go. Chris, did you want to come back with that, because you just took your camera, your mic off? I can't hear you now. Maybe because your head.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. No, I was gonna say I agree with what he said. In terms of helping people from back home, and then and supporting them in that way. Like I'll tell you my story as an example. My cousin, he's a taxi driver, and what I did is when I went over to Trinidad, obviously when I went through Carnival, I used him as my driver to go around. Now, obviously, I paid him for it. He tried to give me like family rates, but I was like, no, let me just pay you normally what you'd normally earn. And then I started talking to him about his business, and he says that normally during Carnival period, he will make what he makes in a month during that 1 week. So obviously, it's a very important time for him. So then I said to him, do you know what? Anybody that like I meet, anybody that needs like a ride or something, I'm going to give them your number. So I'm going to try and send business your way so you can actually try to earn. And then I also said to him, anybody that I know that's going to be going to Trinidad, that could be going to is going to the same area where you're going to be, I'm going to give them your details. And it's the same with a guy that I met over in Jamaica, who was my driver in Jamaica. I took his number and I said, you know what, anybody that I know that's going to go to Jamaica, go to that area, I'm gonna give them your number, pass on your details so that I can send business your way. So I'm gonna try and play my part in terms of just a few people that I come into contact with, but to actually try and help them in terms of get money for themselves. Because I know, or I don't know, but I'm pretty sure, I can guess that I'm pretty sure that if they're coming to ask for money, I'm pretty sure they don't want to be doing that in the first place. And obviously they've got to a certain place where they're having to ask. And I know, as we all do, how proud we as Caribbean people can be when it comes to asking for stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, I'll always try and do it in a way, if I'm going to help, I'll always try and do it in a way in which it doesn't seem like they're coming and asking, where I'm actually trying to help them. Do you know what I'm saying? And so
it's not charity, it's basically,
it's not charity, it's not, yeah, exactly.
You're giving them an option, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to help them. And obviously, nice segue, but to tie it back to obviously travel and tourism, it is helping in that aspect. Because obviously with a lot of Caribbean people, they live on the islands. They have great knowledge of the island. They can use what they have and turn it into like a monetary thing where they can actually earn from it. So if they know knowledge of the island, they can be guides. So all it takes is for, all it takes for a group. Do you know what I'm saying? All it takes for a group of 4 or 5 people. Yeah, 4 or 5 people, send them to that person. That person does a guided tour around the country, around the island. Because when I went to Tobago with my mum and dad, we had a guide who gave us a guided tour of all the island of Tobago, and there's so many things to do in Tobago, so many things that I didn't even know. But that's just 3, 4, 5 people that you can do on tour, that you can give a tour to. Again, earning money that way. But then again, something that I saw in Jamaica, we have a guide that takes us round, but then you can go to different sections. So like I went to Duns River. You have people there that work on Duns River that can give you the whole thing. They can give you that you can go climbing up the river, or go Blue Hole and go climbing up the river. So again, it's not just one person. You might be only speaking to one person, but it's not one person you're having an impact on. You could be having an impact on a multitude of people. And that's what I'm saying about starting small. If you start small, then gradually, as you grow and grow and grow, the more people you send business to, it's the more that they can become back home business minded, and then they can set up their own small businesses. And then they can in turn start to employ people in the country. And then they can set up their business, and then their business can grow. And that's all part of being in the tourism trade, in the tourism industry.
So you have that, what they call the ripple effect.
Yeah. So it's something like that. So as I said, that's what, when I look at it in my mind, I see it as starting small. I just mean little things like that we might not even notice, we might not even think, but they could actually, those little things can actually become a business, and it can become a good income for the locals, and it can help them to help themselves.
Okay. Those are some really brilliant ideas.
I'd just like to add on to what Chris is saying. It needs to be professional though.
And this is it. That's the big one.
Well, I'm sure there's a way to do it. I mean, also, I mean, I really like what you've all said. I know we're coming to the end of the time. We've run over a little bit. I'm going to hand over to Atiba in a minute. But the points that were made about the things that you can do. I mean, the taxi ideas, that's brilliant. The idea of tour guides. I go to West Africa quite a bit, to Benin and to the Gambia, and what I've been doing for the last 4 years is I hardly buy clothes in England. I go to West Africa and I go barter in the market, buy my fabric, so I'm supporting somebody there, and then I go to a tailor and get the tailor to make my clothes. So again, I'm supporting. So again, there's similar things in the Caribbean, so I think the idea of starting something small, something that involves what we call like social enterprise opportunities, something that involves education. So with alongside whatever the tourism opportunities are, you're also educating our people, both us here in the diaspora and our people back home, about our interconnectedness, about the issue we'll face. But also, how can, like you say, like if people are getting work and you're creating tours, you're chartering flights, that's a start. I don't know, Atiba, I need to hand over to you to sort of start wrapping up. But, these are some of the things that have come out. I don't know what you think, how you feel about what you're hearing tonight.
Again, thank you everyone for coming on board. This is so beautiful. This is the 4th session so far. Big up to everyone. Also Karina, iPhone, who I know to be Anna. Next time, do join us. Blessings, one love. Lydia also as well. Do join us next time as well. But what's it called? One love. But yeah, today has been so beautiful. I'm loving it. Thank you very much. Just a few notes from what everybody said, or a few words. It's something you can't explain. Feeling of the culture, end goal, 6 months here, 6 months there. Love education, teaching, medicine, science. Take people on a drive, picking mango, coconut, youth exchange programs, understanding culture, redefining travel and tourism, solutions, creating our own airlines, re-educating people, chartered flights, appetite amongst our community, new and innovative ways for travel. We've got a disconnect, brick by brick, all together, same common goal, utopia, brain, thought processes, finances, strategic. We give the impression that we have everything. They don't understand the wealth of what they have. Education is the way. Contribute to that growth and development. And yeah, altogether, what I've taken from this, it's been a nice, chilled, organic, and beautiful with the vision of growth. So I look forward to next week, and yeah, blessings, one love.
So people, give thanks for your presence, and we'll continue the conversations, because the building a legacy, we're just at the beginning. We have a lot of work to do. So we're going to keep the conversation going. Have a blessed evening.
Thank you. Thank you, sister.
Take it
Thank
easy,
you,
everyone.
brother.
In a bit.
All right.
Peace.
Peace. Peace.